So, good evening, everybody. This is the 7th meeting of International Exhibitions and Webinars of Design Studios. We are very happy to be with you again, and we are hosting at least three dear colleagues, Tayfun, Yıldırım, and Fulya Özmen from Gazi University, representing Studio 4, and Tom Veeger from Eindhoven University of Technology. So I want to welcome them first and thank them for accepting my invitation as soon as I asked them. They are very kind, and also they are very helpful in sharing what they do and how they do things. So is it possible, dear Tayfun and Fulya, you do the first presentation, so I leave the stage for you.
Let me share my desktop, I think. Yes. My presentation is about undergraduate education, not so specific architectural disciplines. So let me start. Before I start my presentation, firstly, I would like to celebrate the organizers of this webinar, Pınar and her colleagues from her studio.
Thank you.
Because this is a good chance to see what's going on in architectural environment. This is a very good chance for us. And I also would like to say welcome to our guest from Holland. And let's start. My presentation's title is Design Basics versus Current Complexity. The most important and difficult step in architectural design is decision-making upon main shape, that called primary generator, first sketch, main idea, or starting node in design science. This decision means experience, more information about previous solutions, expectations, and data analysis in professional life. But it must be given step by step by inductive way to students in education. Architectural design mostly went on typologies and reshaping that types depending on capacity, scale, and place in architectural history. Design problems were divided into functional classes and generated plan types in that approach after Bauhaus. These function types are educational, health, office, tourism, leisure, industrial, transportation buildings, and house type, for example. This concept still goes in most of the buildings today in order to shorten architectural engineering design and construction duration. Choosing commonly used main iconic shape type according to building function, adaptation of that form to design area were common design way for architects in modern times. In addition to that, there are some new data inputs to architectural design for last decades. These new approaches and design inputs can be listed like that. Trying originality and out-of-type unique designs to obtain city-country identity for attracting people. Many unknown cities became well-known after that symbolic buildings. We may, as a sample, we can say Bilbao. It was very economically poor industrial city. After Bilbao Museum, she became tourism attractive city. Second new approach for last decades, sustainability, energy efficiency are important designs. Modernist typologies cannot answer this request. Technologies such as solar gain, double skin, rainwater harvesting affected shapes. Functional flexibility, that's another current approach in architecture. Functional flexibility, multi-use request, cost, changeable, kinetic, and biomimetic designs. Architectural design turned into multidisciplinary and synchronic design. Digital tools change design process and building production. That's another current change in architectural field. Curved, lightweight shell design caused aparted skin and inner space. Every organic shape and its production inside became possible. 3D printers, robotics are being used. Decision about main idea to start shape in design is complex today. Because of that data, analysis and listing data set according to their importance is necessary method in education, especially in undergraduate education. This method is also usable for architectural criticism. This algorithmic thinking is usable for lower class students as described methodology below. First one, data analysis and listing them about environmental and building function. Second step, classifying data according to their weight in design problem. Third step is education, choosing one data as a primary generator idea and main shape. The other step, developing main shape by additional inputs with guidance of main idea. Data analyzing and choosing the most important one of these inputs to obtain main idea in shaping is suitable method in education, especially in lower classes of postgraduate education. In addition to that, architectural design is open to experimental approach. But these new ideas, new approach, experimental ideas should have provide functional, technological and formal expectations which we stated before design. I presented this is in summary presentation. Now I will show some our students' works from our studio. This is our student, is second class student, and design title is Beach Hotel and Bungalows in Amasra. Amasra is a Black Sea coast town at the north of Turkey, very touristic area. And while students analyzing the data of that design, they stated vernacular architecture is very important in this town. Domain is very important. There are single and double-story vernacular houses, and this city is a slow city. It is forbidden to enter with car. This town is only for pedestrians. It is Sitta slow, we say slow city. So students' main idea, using scale and proportion of vernacular architecture. That was the main idea. Student used the proportions, scales of environmental scales, environmental houses, environmental city texture. These are some renders. This is second class students. She used low-rise hotel, low-rise bungalows, and wanted to be in harmony of vernacular environment by means of plans and their masses, their geometry. And the second sample, again from Amasra. Mr. Veeger, did you see Amasra before when you came to Turkey? This is Amasra's bird's eye view picture. The other students is has same data input. He obeyed the environmental vernacular architectural proportions and scales. I inserted wrong. Yeah. This is another student in same group, second class. This is the seaside beach hotel again in Amasra. The main data, prior data, they accepted the proportions and geometry of environment, vernacular architecture. Yes. That was third class students' design. The project title, design title was Gazi Faculty of Architecture. They designed Faculty of Architecture, the existing place of our faculty. The student has chosen as a prior data architectonics and expression of contemporary structures, and he aimed technical demonstration because that was the Faculty of Architecture. So he used long span 3D steel structures he used to obtain architectural, technological expression. That was the diagram, exploded diagram of Faculty of Architecture. The main idea was long span steel structures, beared, supported by 4 reinforced concrete columns or curtain walls. This is aerial view, and this is his aim was to express architectonics of faculty, architectonics of building was important for him. And the third sample is from Kalecik. Kalecik is a close town to Ankara, and all citizens of town are working on winery. They are producing grapes and producing wines. Kalecik wines are worldwide famous. 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 Kalecik wines And our subject, our topic was youth village in Kalecik, University Youth Village, University Students Village in Kalecik. So the agriculture in that design, the prior data, dominant data was winery farms by the river. There is Kızılırmak by the side of our design land. And there are a lot of winery areas, grape areas, grape planting places in this place. So prior data, winery farms by the river, natural, non-urbanized environment was important in that data set. So our students' main idea, using organic forms to obtain nature adaptive village. Our students didn't use solid mass geometrical forms opposite of natural environment. She used very organic forms suitable to natural environment. This is site plan. These are some visuals, renders from aerial view. And her main idea diagram, there were 3 levels. Buildings are generally hidden in environment, and there are some organic connections, double layer connections between buildings and vineyards, This is that students' other visuals, model photograph, model pictures. She wanted design. She wanted her design must be nature adaptive. And the other one, this one. Hasanoğlan is important, is our history because there was agriculture village institute in here in the early Republican period. So we wanted to add some new buildings to reanimate this place. And prior data in this design, attaching to old buildings, early Republic period buildings, and reuse them with connected to new design. And this building is also Agricultural Institute and National Seed Storage. National Seed Storage building, and this will be this must be attached to old buildings and plantation areas also. Our students created connection between old buildings and planting areas. She created street between buildings, and this street, this corridor, is connecting old buildings and plantation areas. And she tried to, similar to previous students, nature adaptive building, and she used some curved shapes in that design. And the other one, this is redesign of downtown Ankara, Kızılay, redesign of Ankara, Kızılay downtown. In data analysis, students stated that the intense building, a lot of building is the main problem in downtown, and the lack of pedestrian areas. pedestrians are walking on the sidewalks, but there are no open places, there are no large areas for students. And these students offered the main idea, ground multiplying. Only zero-level ground is not sufficient for pedestrians. We might multiply pedestrian areas. That was the main idea of our students. These are other visuals. Our students created some pedestrian areas, large pedestrian areas in different levels. This is zero ground level, and the other level, and the other level, and the other level, and these are connected to other downtown points, important points, pedestrian areas, and multiplying pedestrian areas was the main idea of our student. And our last samples. These are, I will show, sorry. I will show three designs of our studio member Özge Zenter's design. These are three samples. She is a research assistant in our studio, and she designed these samples. These are both biomimetic and kinetic designs. And the first sample is yes. Özge's design, the first design is elementary school, but this is multi-use building. Its kinetic behavior is for not only for elementary schools, also shelter for immigrants, and maybe emergency hospital. It's changeable functions that are in building. And she impressed the peacock tail in that design. Let me show the animation. Yes. The inner courtyard of elementary school, the roof of this court is movable. In summer times, it is opening, and winter times, it is closing. And if necessary, some disaster time, some victims or immigrants can use this building as a shelter, or this building can be used, this inner court can be used as an emergency hospital. The other design was Özge's design. Kinetic auditorium. She impressed spider legs and the movement of spider legs, and the aim was flexible auditorium according to audience quantity. And let me show the video of this design. The structure is folding, and also the chairs, seats are folding according to quantity of audience. If audience are less quantity, the hall is closing. And Özge's last design is sport hall. She designed sport hall for every season. In summertime and wintertime, the roof is closing and opening. And she impressed this design from armadillo. The armadillo is animal that lives in Central America, I think. And its shell is folding. So Özge designed this building according to armadillo's shell. Yes, let me finish my presentation. That's all my presentation. And we have two more speakers. Thank you for listening.
Oh, I thought we have one more speaker. Will Fulya also speak?
Yes, yes. This is only my presentation. Fulya will go.
Okay. Oh, we'll do another one. Okay. Okay.
Actually, I'm not going to present the other works of the students, but I would like to talk just a little bit about our behavior related to the place or to the subject. It depends, the priority given by us and also by the students is always a changing situation. Because always when you design a space in somewhere else, or in Cappadocia, or in Amasra, or in Ankara, the priority of the project is always changing. And it's sometimes a tectonic approach or an approach related to the vernacular architecture, or the specification of the place is orienting us as students or as tutors. I would like only add that one. And also I would like to present another colleague of us. Now he's not working with us. He's in another institution, but he has participated to the webinar. So if possible, I would like to invite Semih Tuncer also, because in all that projects except the last 2 semesters, he was with us.
Okay, I see. In Gazi University Department of Architecture Design Studios, there's always a good mixture of part-time teachers and full-time professors. I think it is the same in Eindhoven as well, because dear Tom Veeger is a part-time teacher. and he's going to present what he does in his private studio and how he connects it to the university as well. And Mr. Semih Tuncer is also the part-time teacher of the studio. If he has something very special to say and very special to share with us, yes, we can open his video and microphone, and he can say hello to us, maybe. No?
No. He doesn't say anything. I don't know.
Okay, maybe he writes something and we can invite it later. Invite him later. That's fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Gazi Design Studio number 4. I'm always very happy to be able to watch your exhibitions in the corridors of our school at the end of each semester. You are a very transparent studio, and today I'm happy to learn the background, the backstage of how you make all these good designs possible. And also thank you, Tayfun, for sharing undergraduate and graduate side of education, because I agree with you, they should be connected, and they can be connected in many other ways as well. You are the first person and the only person who just made this connection, this bridge. Thanks a lot. Thanks for overall presentation, and thanks for your contribution, Fulya. Of course, I will have questions in the end. I'm sure audience will have questions in the end too. Now it is time for Tom Veeger. May I invite you for your presentation, Tom? You're welcome again.
Yes, thank you. Tayfun, my compliments. It's always nice to see work from other colleague universities, and I must say we share a lot of in common, looking at the work your students do and compared to ours. I must say that it was interesting. It was nice to see. It's always nice to see colleague universities, how they deal with teaching design, and yeah, we all know it's not easy always. Mm-hmm. But I think you're doing quite a good job, so compliments. Okay, let me share my screen. Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. Is it completely shared, or do you see also?
It's fine.
Okay, then it's good.
That's fine.
I would like to talk about a third-year bachelor design project we do, and explain a little bit about the background of our university to make it more understandable why we do it and in what way we try to do it. So it's called the Multi. It's meant as a multidisciplinary design project. It lasts for 1 semester, and yeah, these are the words that normally are used when we start up this project to explain why all the students who are starting the 3rd year needs to be there. It's a mandatory project, and let's say it's for 10 out of the 14 weeks they are working in a team. In the last 4 weeks they're working in their own discipline. For those who are common with our university know that we are quite diverse. If you look at the different disciplines that are working, are sampled together in our department, and it's quite broad, the amount of disciplines. There should be a moment for, as we think, during the bachelor, that students get knowledge of the different disciplines, because after the 1st year that we share in common, they can choose their own direction, their own discipline. But not knowing what the other disciplines really mean becomes difficult if you start to work in practice, because I already told a couple of you that besides my work, I work as a part-time. I've got my own company, and before that, I've been working on large-scale projects in large companies. And yeah, having that experience, I think quite a lot of you also have got it, knows that you need to understand what your advisors work with, and you need to have the same level of discussion. You need to understand what a structural designer and a real estate developer, what are they dealing with and what are their goals? Because else it's difficult as an architect to manage to finish a project in a common way. But that's a little bit of background, and we also would like to give bachelor students at least a project that gives an impression about how the real world will look like after they finished their master. So, and I think we managed to do that in a certain way. Of course, it's the third year, so don't expect very high levels, but at least it gives most of the students quite a good impression about the complexity if you start to make complex buildings. Okay, the buildings, our bachelor is architecture, building and planning, and it's focused on design and technology and management common. To give you an impression, this is our building. The 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th level are divided in 4 units. Structural design is quite big, but it's quite big in research, but it's quite small in the amount of students. Unit urban system and real estate is growing, doing quite a lot of research, also paid research by grants from the European Union and also from all kind of practice and common industries that would like to work together with it. Unit of architecture, I'm part of that particular unit that has got the most students, and we are dealing with that. We need to improve the amount of research and also research money that needs to come into our department. And the unit of building physics has almost the less amount of students and has got the most PhD, quite a lot of PhD coming from China, and is making most of the research money in our department. This is a quite complex schedule about what we do in the first 3 years of our bachelor, in the bachelor period, but I will make it in the next slide, I will make it a little bit easier to understand. But I think it, in general, it means that the first year is basic, learning the basic skills. It's orientation, because most students doesn't know in what direction they want to go. Most of them just entered and think they would like to become an architect, and after a while they find out their design is not theirs, it's not that direction they want to go, and so they need to orientate themselves different options they've got. Second year they have made a choice in one of the 3 directions, technology, design, or urban research. Then they have got the option in the second year to go more deep, search for courses, do studio work. In the third year, and that's what I would like to talk about, is the project, the multidisciplinary project. We would like them to come together for 1 semester in studio work and bring in the second year knowledge they gained and learn how to work together. And at the end, in the last semester, they need to make their final bachelor project in the direction, in the discipline they would like to continue in the master. Okay, to make it a little bit less complex, this is what we are aiming at: first year, second year, third year. We've got 2 courses and divided and studio work. So that means that that, in my personal opinion, is a pity. We only have 33% of the time available for studio work. We've got 2 large courses parallel to that. 5 ECTS is mandatory. Also, a couple of courses shared with the whole university about philosophy, about calculus, about innovation, and about research methods. We've got 5 ECTS about courses that are in the first year common, second year specialized, and the third year also specialized. Besides that, we have got in the common year, we have got studio work in the first semester together, and after that, some specialization. And showing the work at the end, we have got the multi in the third year. Hopefully, it makes sense. Else, maybe I can give you some answers if you've got questions. Okay, this is normally the first slide we show the students, talking about integrated design and the complexity of it. Explaining that in a hospital, if you start to work, you are only one of the people who are involved in the whole design process. I've been working on one of the hospitals nearby, and it's just like a running train. You jump on it inside the design team, and after 3 years, you jump out of it. But the whole project never finished because they start to build something and they start already to design a next step to it. So it's continuation of design process in hospitals and health project. But besides that, you've got a large team of structural designers, building physics, about building systems. You've got project leaders coming out of the real estate area to manage the whole process. You have got specialists in hygienic special rooms like in OK. You have to develop a certain process to meet all the different units that are inside an hospital, and every unit has got its own specifications. So it's a huge process, and it's quite complicated to manage, including all the financial stuff. So to give them, it's already said, to give them an impression about the complexity, we would like to do this project, prepare students at least to give a glimpse about the work they will be dealing if they finish their study. And secondly, then they need to learn how to work together in a team. It's a practical assignment, it's high complexity, and what I already said, and the need to understand in what way are you dealing with the other 5 colleagues? How do you divide the amount of work? How do you work? How do you cope with a building physics that has got also their needs from week 1 or 2, and they have to also to solve quite a lot of problems? And how is that evolving? And how is that working? And how do you see the input coming out of the design? It's not so easy. So, as an example, last year we worked with 168 students, 28 teams. Then we find out that it's not equally divided. We've got only 15 students doing structural design, 25 in the urban systems and real estate, more than 100 students coming out of architecture and urban design, and only 7 students in building physics. Doesn't mean that they can't solve the problems and the questions and the assignments coming out of the building physics part and tutors, because we think that the questions we ask them to solve, the assignments inside this multi-project, are not on a level that an architect shouldn't be able to solve it. And secondly, we think at least every architecture student should have a certain knowledge about structural design, about real estate, and about building physics. So we, for the teams that doesn't have a student of building physics or doesn't have a student of structural design, we ask 2 of the architects, and normally there are 2 or 3 architects and urban designers in a team. We ask them to share that particular task. And normally they're not so happy to do that at the beginning, but at the end of the project, they say they learned quite a lot. And that doesn't mean that they only have to focus on that particular task in, by example, structural design. They still are an architect, so they need to do also these, certain parts of the design, but they need to take an extra task. Okay, as an example, what you see here is the outcome of, at the end of the exhibition we make. We got 2 architects, 1 building physics, 1 structural designer, an urban designer, and a real estate. And they need to find a way to work together in those 10 weeks. Learning goals. We judge them on the 3 P's, we call it: the process, the product, and the way they present their outcome. And we have got 3 presentations. We've got a midterm, we got after 7 weeks, we got a presentation that's called the carousel, and at the end we got a final presentation. Then the group split up, and then they are still allowed to work 4 weeks in a special discipline and produce a discipline report. That will be judged by that specific teacher that gives that specific discipline. Process, they need to cooperate and to value other domains. That's not always easy for them to understand. They need to develop a joint vision, else you can't work together. And that takes quite a lot of brainstorming in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And they need to make the next step to incorporate that in a preliminary design. They need to organize it on a practical and in a very structural way, how they work together. They need to have meetings, they have notes, there will be a chairman, somebody who make a time schedule, there will be deadlines. So they need to learn how to work together, and also to come together every week, to see the deadlines, to divide the workload. The product, of course, but the product will be judged by the 5 discipline tutors involved in the project. So real estate teacher has got different way of judging the outcome. And that calls also for a building physics tutor and an urban teacher. So they need to address all the different needs and all the different questions and all the different parts of the assignment that has been asked. So it's not only about the designing, but it's involving in the design all the different questions they have to address. Yeah, and I think that's nothing new. That looking at the presentation, we already saw that presentation is a way to communicate the outcome of the whole story. And normally we do that in drawings, but also in oral presentations, in PowerPoints, in making movies. We also include making a website for them. And at the end, they need to make a couple of models together and to be part of a larger exposition. So drawings, text, posters, and models are part of it. Let's see. Now we got something wrong. That's a pity. As an example, I would like to show you some drawings of one of the sites we had. This was a site we had during the last part in September. It was in Rotterdam. It was an abandoned gas factory in the area of one of the abandoned harbors nearby the city center. Abandoned harbors are at the moment a hotspot for new developments. Because Rotterdam, not only Rotterdam, but I think the whole Netherlands are in need of at least 100,000 new houses. So there's a lot of development going on, and these lost spots in the harbors that are not needed anymore for the harbor functionality, because ships are getting bigger. They can't reach more these older harbor areas. I think that is something that worldwide is happening at the moment. That means that quite a large areas are available at the moment for new developments. One of the remains was an old factory where they produced gas coming out of coals. And this has been, that has been on the list of monuments. So looking at the left side, you see how it's used in Amsterdam, almost the same gas factory. And on the right side, you see our spot, the Veeger, where we would like to ask our students to make a new development out of it. And not only that particular part, but also at the back side, a factory. And now I hope to, oh, no, I'm doing something wrong. Let's see if I can.
I think there is a film here because I saw it before. Maybe you can open the PowerPoint and you can show it from there if you like.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, give me some time. That's a very good idea. I'm wondering, do you see this video at the moment?
No,
Yeah.
I think you should stop sharing the
Yeah,
sharing
I
the PDF, and then
Try
and
to
then
share again.
start the other one again. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Can you hear me at the moment?
Yes, we do.
Okay. This gives you an impression of the abandoned steel factory next to the Verdo. And this part should also be redeveloped. We try to have certain parts of new developments combined with redeveloping of certain parts of a monument or an old building to give them the option to practice both problems. And yeah, normally we had it was during the Corona time, so we had to divide the group in one morning and one afternoon, and we happily were we got some help from the municipality to be there to explain all the backgrounds of the specific site. And after that, we divided the teams to look around, and we had also quite a lot of stakeholders who were working in that particular area, and we gave them the. Let's say I will stop sharing. I will jump back to the PDF file. Because there are already developments going on at this particular site, and we thought it could be interesting to share that knowledge. So we had a couple of real estate developers who would like to present the work they're doing at that particular moment, to give some insight about the problems when you start up a project like this in an area that is completely abandoned and not in use at this specific moment. And I must say it was very interesting to see the director of a quite large company telling these kind of stories to smaller groups of students. And I must say the student very liked it. Because it gives really an insight. It gives also the option to discuss and to ask questions. I think that was part of this assignment, to bring people in contact with people working already, and to give them an impression about the work they will be doing in the future. That was people coming from urban design and about the municipality, that were people working at that particular moment already in this area, developers, but also architects. So that I think the mixture of people who came from practice-based, some of them we were able to involve them in the teaching itself. We call them hybrid teachers. We were able to hire them for 1 or 2 days to give tutoring sessions, and all together that worked out quite well. Give you an insight about the program is, we asked them to make quite a large amount of apartments, to find a way how they can reuse that old gas factory, to make an urban plan, make a mobility plan for the whole area. That was more orientation about urban design. How to make a master plan, including the largest surrounding of this particular spot, find a way how to contact with the water again. And for the building physics and building systems, we should minimize energy consumption. And minimize means that it should give a surplus, because nowadays, if you would like to have a building permit, you need to show that for 1 year, the building needs to be energy zero. And we were also taking into account that the built environment is responsible for at least 30% of the CO2 production in the world. If we can make an energy surplus, we can bring down the amount of CO2 that we are producing to make new developments. So they also should make calculation how much CO2 that this specific newly built apartment blocks and the redevelopment of the old factory was causing, and how they could bring it down. So I already told in the chat at the beginning that most student teams came up with changing the whole concrete structure into glue laminated floors, glue laminated beams, and using a lot of wood. I think that was a new development we introduced 2 or 3 years ago, because it's quite a hot topic. As we already told, some of you, I think, saw the presentation about sea level rise in the master project we did. I think Netherlands has got a lot of problems that will come up in the next 20 years. So, CO2 and energy is quite a hot topic. Okay, that's a little bit about the background. To give a little bit insight about the time schedule, we have a first 3 weeks doing research, asking them to present after that, and during the midterm an integral vision, a concept how it will look like. That's quite quick, 3 weeks. So we asked quite a lot of them, but having 6 people, they need really, it's very helpful to have a deadline, I must say. So they don't have too much time to quarrel. They need to really strictly organize their team and the workload, and they really need to divide the work, and that works if you really press them after 3.5 weeks to make the first presentation. After that, they have to produce a preliminary integral design. We've got a carousel presentation. I will be back on that. That's something we developed during the time, and that works quite well with 3 or 4 presentations after each other, focusing on different topics. And after the break, because we have got the break of 2 weeks of exam, and we don't do too much in the week before the exams. After the break, they have to bring in the whole integral design to the next level, also dealing with all the comments they've got on the carousel presentation, and then bringing it to the final presentation. If after the group final, they split up, the teamwork is done, and then they have got still 3 or 4 weeks to work on their own discipline, going into the depths, focusing on building physics. Every tutor has got his own topics they need to address, and the outcome will be a discipline document of something between 15 and 20 pages. And for the architects, they need to redevelop maybe certain parts of the design, or they need to redesign the facades if they want. So they will get a different options to work on. We made a quite tough schedule. That means that they are able to work at least four parts during the week at the university itself. We provide them with space to do that, to work together. We also introduce a monitor. Every week, every team needs to just discuss the progress and maybe the problems and the way how they are dealing inside the team with a student assistant for 30 minutes. They need to keep a logbook and reflect on the way how they work together, and the logbook will be graded at the end of the teamwork. So that's part of the professional skills. So every week they need to write down in a certain way, a diary of 1 A4 about all the things they think are positive and are negative. Also by the way how to work together with the disciplines. That works quite nice. And we've got professional training 3 times. That's what you can see here is called the ASAP training. We've got a group of psychologists coming from the educational office, and they try to figure out what are the problems inside the team. They've got 3 meetings of 3 hours, and they discuss in what we call it in a closed room. So the outcome of all the discussions and all the problems they come up with, and I must say that psychologists are quite clever, finding where are the problems, and who can't work with who, and why they don't work together very nicely. And I think that works out very good. Students like it because it's in a space where it's not involved in grading, so they can be more open, and the psychologists don't share the outcome of these discussions. They start doing it at the beginning, telling this, different stories, somewhere in the middle, and at the end, to make a reflection about how the whole process has been going. To give a little bit an insight about my work, coordinating the whole project is quite a process. We are dealing with, at the end, with 15 to 20 different tutors, because most tutors work part-time only one day. We've got quite a lot of student assistants working at monitoring the different teams. Yes, some of them are paid by special funding, and at the moment we came out of a quite difficult period. I think we had the same problems with Corona, so we had also to organize everything online. And during the starting in September, we had still quite a lot of Corona problems. So partly the tutoring sessions were online using Teams, and partly they were real live. So that made it extra difficult, I must say, that also to keep up. Starting point, we were able to invite all the students to the location itself, and to making the groups, the teams quite small. We divided, we made a very nice morning and a nice afternoon. And we made something like, how do you call it? A fox hunt or something like that, I can imagine. So that they had a tour, and they had to find all the different tutors, focusing on the different disciplines, and every tutor gave to 2 or 3 teams at that particular moment a short presentation at the starting, where they had to work for that particular week, and after the starting week, and also to answer all the questions the students had. And going around on this site, finding different teachers and different spots, also gave them in an informal way a very nice introduction of the area. In between, we also mingled a couple of stakeholders who are involved in this area. So I think we had a very pleasant morning and a very pleasant afternoon. Okay, yes, integral design is not so easy. So one of my colleagues made this schedule. Okay, make it scared out most of the students. But I must say, most of these topics are addressed, maybe not into the depth, but at least they are touched, and they need to say something about it during the final presentation. And we have got, every team had a final presentation of 20 minutes, and also they should present a booklet about the different topics, and they should show it during the exposition. Exposition look like this. They need to make a specific detail. Building technology needs to be addressed. Urban design, 5 panels, the booklet of 20 pages, mostly 2 or 3 models, and that comes together with a presentation in one of our more nicely auditoria. We've got a very small, nice 200 people auditorium, and if we were able, we would fill it up. During Corona, we were only allowed to have 20 people in this 200 seats location, but I think nowadays, hopefully we can start in September. We are working now without Corona anymore, so everything is like it was 2 years ago, and hopefully we can fill up the auditoriums again, just like we are used to in September, when we start with a new multi. Okay, we got a midterm, we got a carousel, we've got a final presentation, and after this period for the disciplinary report. Disciplinary report is uploaded and handed in, and after 2 weeks, all the tutors has graded that particular part. And after that, we think they are quite well informed in what discipline they would like to make their final bachelor project. That will last for another half year and 1 semester before they can get their bachelor degree. One step aside, together with Fas, we developed, that's my colleague sitting in the middle, we developed something that we called evaluation assessment carousel, because we found out that it was quite boring to have one presentation with 5 different tutors. And if every tutor would like to have a discussion with the team, you need at least half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to really to go into the depth. So we thought maybe we could find another way to do it. And yeah, we normally people got a presentation and all the tutors are sitting there. Like, okay, here we got 4. Normally we've got 5 different tutors of 5 different disciplines sitting in the front row and a lot of students at the backside. We thought if you do it in a different way, and that the students will present maybe 3 or 4 times and can focus on different topics, and we divide the amount of tutors or in groups of 2 or in groups of 3, they can address different topics and they can go more into the depths. And also the students get more options to present, because every students need to practice oral presentation. And that way we can split up the team in 2 or 3 so that they are responsible for that particular part of the presentation. That works quite nice, and it gives them also the way to practice, to give a little bit an idea how this works. Not every time the presentations take place, so they also are able to see other presentations of other teams to share them. And we divide the groups and they stay behind their own table during that particular moment. They make their own very small, because it's not the final presentation, but it's something in between. They make their own small exhibition at their own table, and they can show a couple of booklets, graphics, and not able to use PowerPoint, but they need to make printed posters, they can make drawings, so they can use everything. And they know that they have to change the presentations when another group, maybe let's say the first time real estate and urban design 2 tutors will be there. So they have addressed different topics and different discussions. And after that, they can wait half an hour, and then the architecture together with the builder vision will visit their table, and then the whole presentation needs to be done in a different way. And at the end, a structural designer with another architect will show up, and then the third presentation. And that mingling and the option that you are able to present 3 times works out quite well. And that makes also that we can have more discussions, because it's not the final presentation, and the outcome of the discussions needs to be included in the next step and the next development of the quality of their final design. And having 3 times discussions of 10 minutes brings in a lot of information for the students on what particular spots they need to really develop more quality into their project. Yeah, more feedback receiving in a short period of time, dividing the different topics in a better way. Also, giving the more students the option to present in the teams. All 6 of them are really forced to give an oral presentation. And we think having that discussion on the table is a different situation compared to the final presentation, when we ask them to give a presentation of 10 minutes without having question afterwards. So this discussion brings in a lot of new insights to the team, and they will make progress after this one. So I must say, to finalize our presentation, this is one of the presentations we've got. Normally it depends a little bit about the student teams. Sometimes they are 20, sometimes we're 25, sometimes we have 30. We try to do the presentation in our faculty, but and that is quite nice. In Rotterdam, we didn't do it because it is quite a lot of work, but we have been invited by a couple of municipalities when they have got a problem to come up with 20 or 25 different solutions for a troubling area. And some of these municipalities are really eager to invite us, and they are willing to pay for us to do it. So that gives us also, maybe maybe sometimes 10 or 15,000 euros. It gives us the opportunity to having all the cost of transportation, and also the people that should build up the whole exposition and that kind of things, that we get enough funding to do that. I must say that is very nice, and we had a couple of aldermen, and we had quite a lot of politicians that were in Eindhoven at Strijpers, but also in Dordrecht, also in Den Bosch, who are really interested. And I think that the interesting part of doing it in student projects for a municipality is it's not so offensive. It's just only a student project, but in the other way, they got 25 different solutions for a difficult site inside their city center. And for them, it's just like a big brainstorm sessions to see that what could be done. And that brings quite a lot of activity in the municipalities. And listening to that, it can also help to make decisions. We found out that we had one topic addressing the problems of doing a new city hall development in Dordrecht. We found out afterwards that there had a lot of politicians discussing next to all the models we made, and at the end deciding that a new to choose for the development of a new city hall in Dordrecht. And I think that made us, I think, a little bit proud that second and third year students can already have this kind of input. We made a website like about 2 years ago. During the Corona period, we were not able to work at the university, so we were not able to work in a workshop and make models. So we had to find another way for them to make the final presentation or the final exhibition. So we used the Wix. The Wix websites, they are free to use for the students. So they need to make 28 or 30 different websites. Each team needs to address all the different topics in that particular website. And I must say, we harvest every year now the outcome of the different projects. Maybe I give a small impression. Now you have to say, do you see the movie? No?
No, because you didn't stop the PDF, I suppose.
Yeah. Then I will stop sharing, and then
good.
I will share the movie.
Yeah, please.
Then I'm finished. So this one. Now you see something?
Yes, we see the movie. That's fine.
Okay. It gives a little bit an impression about, it's a project that we did in the city center of Eindhoven. It's an old factory that needs to be redeveloped. This was one of the teams, and I thought it gives you a little bit an idea about the work they've done. I can jump from one place to another. Integral design, they need to make a story, they need to show pictures, drawings, and also to make some building technology. And they need to tell about the materials they want to use. They need to understand how things can be reused, what are the problems. They need to make a master plan for the whole area. They need to make a vision of we have got a very, very small river passing by on that particular site. So they need to make a master plan how it works and how the area will connect it to the site. Pedestrian zones, how partly the old building will be redeveloped and some parts will be demolished. Will be redeveloped. Story about how we can bring down the amount of energy. Some other sustainable things that need to be involved in the process. Smart gallery about the renderings they made. And I think, and they need to tell a little bit about the team. And I must say they were quite proud. And at the end, yeah, we and all the booklets they made, the presentation they did, they put it also there. Okay, it's a short impression about quite a complex project, and it doesn't go often very well. So we've got, of course, just like I think you've got teams that goes perfectly, and we've got teams that are really struggling from week 2 till the end. So very problematic, and yeah, they need quite a lot of assistance too. Yeah, they've got personal issues, personal problems. They can't work together, but I think maybe 60-70% works very nicely. They learn a lot about it. So I think that was about a multidisciplinary project for me.
Okay, thank you, Tom. This is the second time you are with us, and it's getting more and more interesting. I think third time we will learn more about Netherlands problems, how you do this interdisciplinary work real, because the one you did with Irene also was about an interdisciplinary one as well. And I'm really amazed with it. I really enjoyed it. Do you think that I have several questions, but I want to start with making the teams. Because your university is a technical university, I think you involve the technical branches in it. You don't have sociologists, you don't have economists, you don't have some other humanity science disciplines. Is that true, or you invite them in addition to what you have as a team in your faculty?
Yeah, this is the only project where we really go into the white of our own department, and I must say that's already difficult enough. And I know that the university would like to include also other departments, but yeah, I think it's already difficult to manage this one, because if you look at real estate development and not urban design, but urban planning, mm-hmm. That's on a complete different level compared to a structural designer, and mm-hmm. They have got a different language and they have different topics to address, and to find a way that they have got the same goal at the end is quite already a challenge. So I must say I'm quite happy that I've got from the other disciplines. We've got a very good team that has got quite a lot of experience, and most of them work also in the field. They've got their own offices, and they see the need of working together, and in that way we can communicate that to the students. But having only academic people who really are only working inside the university. We had a couple of colleagues working in the multi, but you already see that it's more difficult because they are not used to work in practice. And mm-hmm. This is maybe the only studio work that is related to more practice-based work. So it's quite nice that we have got hybrid teachers, and we can pay them now at the moment. I don't know how long it will last, but at least we are happy now that we got a little bit more money to do that. So, and getting them involved and telling the stories there, what's going on at the moment. But yeah, of course, yeah, Jacob Fortuis, who is one of the professors who is involved in the project too, he's a philosopher, so, but he's also a historian about architecture. So in that way, yeah, and I think most architects dealing with this, I think in a certain way, we are like just like a spider, huh? You know that we deal with everything, not in the depths, but we know everything, and we think that we know everything, but we don't do that.
Sure.
We think so. We do. It's what we can do sometimes is to give a lecture about somebody from outside, and now at the moment they are focusing on blended learning. So we got some money to make videos, and we ask interviews. So that works also nicely. at the starting of the project, we already had got 10 interviews about stakeholders, because during the Corona period, people were not allowed to travel. People were not allowed to be in a lecture room or in an auditorium. So we tried to find another way. And I must say, going together with a student assistant who was quite clever in making videos and had also all the material to do that, the microphones and good cameras. I must say, it was very nice to do so. Sitting together in a small room or somewhere outside, talking about their problems, and putting it on YouTube worked very nicely. I must say that also Corona had its advantages. Before that, we didn't do that. So.
Mm-hmm. There are two things I really liked your approach. One is that multidisciplinary teams all learning from each other. Also, not only student level, but also in the teachers level. I think as teachers, we think that we know a lot, but people are specializing in very important topics, and nobody can know the depth of each other's specialization. So it's a very good learning environment as well, not only creating, not only designing, but also a very good way of learning, active learning environment that you create. That's the thing I like very much. And the other thing was the part you were inviting the teachers, different blend of teachers and groups presenting their work to different groups of teachers. I mean, nice. The mini groups you organized. I think this is very teaching as well, because with some other discipline, you have to talk in a very special way. You have to ask very specific questions. But with some other professional group, you need to speak with another language, maybe, and you will be judged with your that language, a related language. So this is nice. Changing the groups, changing the discussions, changing the terminology. This is also very teaching as well.
Yeah, I had a CEO from quite a large real estate company, and maybe he had a very nice education period at the university, but he came Monday afternoon, the whole day, the whole afternoon, and the Tuesday morning he came, and he was involved in one of the projects at a particular moment. They won the call, and they were dealing with quite a large plot. But he was so proud to tell his story about how he won the prize and how he got that particular project. That he said after he presented, I think every afternoon he presented 6 times. He brought his own beamer. He was standing inside his own old factory that was going to be redeveloped. And he said, I don't have any voice, but I said it is so much fun to present to students. And he didn't want to be paid. His travel cost, nothing. So I think if you find the right people, and also from the municipality, we had a project leader responsible for redeveloping that gas ferrodome. He was so enthusiastic. If you find the right people, and most of them also have been studying at the university, so they know how much fun it can be to tell a story to students. And I must say that, it's quite easy to find these people, and they can tell beautiful stories. And I think the stories count because they bring in something new that, and they got the knowledge on the side, because they're working on that specific site. And now we're going to Breda, that's a smaller city in the south of the Netherlands. And the municipality is already quite enthusiastic because they've got a problematic area that needs to be redeveloped, and they need to communicate with the inhabitants. And they say this would be perfect if you can make an exposition with 20 of those new developments, and we can guide a little bit the program. We can show them what are the opportunities of this specific site, and then we have got a perfect starting point to start up the discussion, including the politics, the the developers, the owners of the site, and it's harmless because we don't pay for it and it's only student work. But and then the other way, it's already showing all different possibilities how we can go on in the future. And they don't have to spend so much money. So for municipality, that's also nice.
Good. I have two questions from the audience. One is Sıla Bernatunç, student. Hi, Professor. I have a question. What is usually the specific missing part at presentation in groups in projects? Is it design and structure, or is the formation of concept and design considered more important and priority for project and also presentation? The design and structure. What is the most important part?
It's difficult because we've got 5 teachers who give a grade, and then we balance the grade. The outcome is so it means that they need to address all the 5 different disciplines. And they need to give an answer because we give them a list at the program of requirements, what they need to solve. So every discipline has got its own topics, and all the 5 disciplines, the questions needs to be answered. I get a grade from the real estate tutor, I get a grade from the urban designer and all the disciplines. And at the end, we balance the outcome, and that will be the final grade of the team. So there's not one particular one that is in charge. Of course, we've got more architectural students, and we've got more, and I think you need it because they are quite complex projects. So we are happy that we have got 2 or 3 of them, because then not only one, but we can divide the work load to 3 of the students. But they really need to give an answer, and also for the building physics and the structural parts. And if they can't give a very right answer, I think, to be honest, most of the teams has got at least 5.5 or a 6, so that they survive. And the most problematic period is the discipline period, when we see the individual students popping out of their team, because some of them are really hiding inside the team. You don't know if they work very hard. We only read it in the logs that, let's say, one of the students wasn't there so much, but we tell them that they could complain already during the process, and that we got a student assistant that could address that particular problem and can be helpful to let one of the students work harder. But if they don't do it, then it's the problem of the team. But during the discipline period, we see really the quality of the individual students. And then we've got a lot of retakes. But it's mostly the integration of all the problems into a design. So that can be structural design, and also the problems of real estate, but also the CO2 limitations of the energy zero task to finish it. A lot of solar panels, harvesting energy, harvesting also heat, or cooling down your project. So a lot of things they have to take into account. But it needs to be a design. So finally, I think, but I'm an architect. I think architecture is the central point in the whole discussion. But I can't tell that too much to my other colleagues because they don't agree with me, of course.
Of course. Okay. There's another question from Professor Esin Boyacıoğlu. Firstly, I want to say hello and thank for the presentations. They were both very interesting and I learned a lot. My question to Tom is quite similar to Pinar's. I was wondering, how do you arrange the teams? Are the students coming together voluntarily, or do you select them randomly?
No, we don't select them randomly. We organize the teams, but I don't know if you're familiar with the Belbin test. That's a psychological test about your personality. If you fill in online that test, they will give you a certain profile about how you are. Some of them are some of them are really caring about a team. And then you've got the individualists that really are going strict. And you've got the chairman that doesn't have any creativity, but they can organize the whole process very well. So we found out that using this test, this Belbin test, brings at least 5 or 6 different personalities. And the best teams, and I must say that multinational works also with these tests if they start doing teams bringing together. If you mingle all the different personalities in a very nice way, that you don't have one of the personalities too much in a team, then you've got good teams. We have got, there's one, they call it the plant. That's a very creative person, mostly an architect, that can't make a decision, but comes up every time with a new solution during his design process. We started doing this Belbin test, finding out that we had 5 plants in one team. They were huge creatives, but every time we saw them during the tutoring session, they came up with a new design. So we already saw 9 different designs, because every time we give comment, they throw their old design away and they started doing over again. So they couldn't make a decision. There was nobody that say, okay, now you have to stop. We only have got 3 weeks. Now we have to finish the whole process. We've got a lot of other things we need to do. You can't continue designing. It's tomorrow we stop. Nobody did that. So having 6 people on a high level of creativity, it was a very bad outcome. So you need to mingle. You need to have a guy that is dealing with the process. You need to have a very strict chairman that say, okay, you've got deadlines to deal with. We have got things that needs to be finished next week. You have to divide the workload. Some of you have to make the models. The other needs to make the poster. So and that normally is just a real estate guy. He's the developer. He's the process manager. He's got the skills to do that. So in that way, that if we mingle the teams in that way. And the second nice thing about that, we already talked about the psychologists that are involved in the whole process 3 times. They work with these profiles and they explain what are the difference in personality inside the team and why people work in a different way or behave in a different way. They explain in a psychologist way that people are not the same. And I must say, that's quite an eye-opener. They give them a way. We do inquiries, education inquiries at the end of the whole project. And this particular part, talking to a psychologist for a lot of people for the first time, they say that it's a very learning situation. And I must say, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I was also surprised when you were mentioning the psychologists helping the team to understand themselves, helping individuals also understand themselves, their role, why they are failing, why they are doing something good, why not.
Yeah, the caring person. Yeah, the caring person. The caring person that starts up and say, okay, next week we have got a pizza evening and we're going to play cards or to play another game or something. Just be social together and to do something else, not only focusing on the work. And I must say that is the sharing person that takes care of the people, that if there's a dropout, she will bring it back. And she will say, okay, what's the problem? And why aren't you working together with us? And do you have got some social problems? And I think that having different personalities in the team really works. But it doesn't have anything to do with design, but it has to do about teamwork. And understanding that not everybody is the same. And also about, we see that the goals, that somebody would like to be an honor student, having a very high outcome, very high grade, and the other is already satisfied with just passing the assignment. If you've got those 2 people in one team, you already got a problem, because one will work very hard and the other is a little bit lazy. And
yes, but it's like the real life.
Yeah, that's right. Like the real world, we all know. But yeah, and they are discussing these kind of topics at the psychologist 3 hours, and they find something a common goal, because else the teamwork won't work. Yeah, most of the times it works very nice. Yeah, you also have got problematic, strange people that drop out. We also have to deal with autistic people who can't change their behavior. So we have, it's a technical university, so we've got more autistic people, students. So we have to deal with that. So yeah, it's always a little bit balancing. You can't solve
Okay.
everything.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
that's
Very
maybe
interesting.
some question for Tayfun, because you
Yes.
asked me all the questions. So.
Let me have a rest for you, give a rest for you. Dear Tayfun, dear Fulya, thank you very much for your interesting and very well prepared, in fact, presentation. I just want to focus on more, emphasize more on the data part of it. What is this data nowadays? I mean, everything is becoming a data nowadays. What is the architectural data? What is non-architectural data? What is artistic data? Can you open this term data and its importance for architecture a little bit more, please?
Now, first, let me explain by Tom's educational method. The multidisciplinary data information from environment are data, we may say this. And we can divide it into some titles: environmental data, design area data. It means man-made environment, texture, styles, building types, or natural environment data. It can be climate is important, topography is important, geography, nature, plantation, grant specification, everything is important. And in our country, for example, earthquake zones is an environment. These are all data, information to design. And second thing, this is out of designers. We cannot change this data. This is around us. But another thing about design subject building, its characteristics, its specifications, its spatial space organization, its program, and building technologies, building semantics, buildings, formal specifications, classifications are important. Analogical, canonical, geometrical, organical, these are all data. The important thing to decide which one we shall use is data in our design. That's very important period. That's very important period. That's I can say that's what, all I can say now.
Okay, so how students choose the right data in order to base their design on? What is the process? What is the process? I mean, do you push them to choose one or two? Do you make them choose one or two deliberately, or they just jump into one as a coincidence,
Sure,
or they have some inclination towards one?
We are not urging students. Our first step study is they are collecting, analyzing the design environment first. And then they are collecting data about building type, previous types they are working, previous types, previous samples they are collecting. And then in studio, we are discussing. We are evaluating these data. What kind of data we have to follow? What kind of data we can neglect, for example. We are analyzing, we are classifying the data set. It's important to think correctly at the beginning of the design for me. But this method is step by step, this method is suitable for lower level students, I think, to give them algorithmic step-by-step thinking. For first class and second class students, it's important. And then and upper levels and in the professional life, by experience, by knowledge, designers deciding the shape, the main shape, how can I say, it's the end of the experience at the professional life. But students know nothing about design. They are coming from the direct information transfer education from high school, from college, from the test system. So they are in difficulty in design. In decision making, they are in difficulty. So we have to give them algorithmic thinking, analytic thinking. It's important for lower grades, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. In our school, there are 8 design studios giving different type of education each semester, and Tayfun Yıldırım's studio is one of them. So the students, if student chooses Studio 4, Atelier 4, it is very certain that he or she will learn about this algorithmic thinking. If the student chooses 2 times, 3 times this studio, then I think they get professionalized or they get more expertise on algorithmic design. And thank you very much. I think there are not many questions from the audience. Maybe I can ask one single question to both of you, because as I said, as we were chatting at the beginning, Tayfun really spent a lot of time in a private sector, and then he became an academic. And Tom Veeger runs an office, design studio, private design studio. So what is missing in professional life so that the academia can bring new, fresh look, new, fresh touch? I mean, do you think that how the business is run is perfect, or should some other things be added to it to make it more enjoyable, to make it more professional? Because we are dealing with lots of knowledge, we are dealing with lots of data, we are dealing with lots of techniques. Maybe sometimes we are forgetting about humanity. We think that we are doing all this design for human beings, but do we contact them enough? Or do we understand them enough? Or we're just dealing with, as a profession, we're just dealing with energy things, the earthquakes, the datas, and the other very technical things. What do you think? I mean, our communication with the society, the profession and the society.
You asked Mr. Veeger or me?
Both of you, because both you have a lot of experience in the profession. You can start first, Tayfun.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Veeger's presentation excited me too much because the professional life is going interdisciplinary design. Today, information is growing and it is getting enlarged. So new professions are arising. For example, mechatronic engineer. Mm-hmm. This is new discipline. mechatronics like that. And nanotechnologies are coming, and it's affecting the building material, for example. The total information, total science is growing. So interdisciplinary design is currently today's design type, and some softwares are written for this interdisciplinary design, and some calls to interdisciplinary design synchronized design. Synchronized design. Some use this term for interdisciplinary multi-design, and some softwares, all disciplines are working on one design. For example, architect draw a sketch, and all other disciplines see it on screens, and they are designing together. For example, I know the Norman Foster is working like that on network with different disciplines, and building is changing. Building is turning into industrial design now. New materials, kinetics, flexible buildings, its nature is changing nowadays. So interdisciplinary design, multi-design, integrated design is very important nowadays. So Mr. Veeger's presentation excited me so much. I am so excited about this very important and sectors turning into that interdisciplinary design environment nowadays.
So Tayfun, do you believe that this will make people happy, users happy, occupiers happy?
I think so. Yeah, I think the things, okay, maybe the University of us is also focusing on working together with factories, or working together with organizations, because we need the money. And there is a lot of European funding going around. If you work together with a couple of partners, you can be part of a research project. And that particular project can only be developed if you got partners in the industry. So in that way, there are a lot of companies who would like, and I totally agree with Tayfun, that there's a lot of things going on in materials, new material developments and new use of materials. We have got for 4 years now, we got a 3D printing facility, and we produced our first house 1 year ago. Before that, it didn't look at all, but everybody was really excited about all the energy and all the new developments and the new practice we had using that particular printer. And there's a lot of things that are not shared. You need to find out by yourself. And these 3D printing stuff, we had a very nice, as an example, we had a very nice collaboration with Weber, international factory producing concrete. And they brought in every 3 months a new recipe of the concrete, because it didn't work out. So they were able to test a lot of things in our laboratory. And yeah, we were part of a larger consortium, because they also paid for the printer, partly. Yeah? So we were sharing the printer with a couple of building contractors, a couple of material producers, and also ourselves. So, and that worked out very nice, I must say. And we learned a lot as an academic, but also looking at the outcome of the architectural office who was involved in it. It was not mine, but listening to the stories they told me, and also the advisors who are involved, and the producers. And the spin-off is that in Eindhoven, we have got now 2 production facilities outside the university who are dealing with 3D printing, because we also got a lot of PhDs working with 3D printing inside the university, and they start to work at that particular companies now. And so I think the spin-off is also very nice. Bio-based products is a hype at the moment in the Netherlands. everybody wants to be part of it because they think that will solve a lot of future problems in available materials. If we start reusing materials, if we use bio-based materials, and a lot of research is done at the universities because a lot of companies don't have time, don't have money to do that. So they're quite happy to be part of a larger consortium. So, and I think we make people happy, yes, to be the answer to your question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's not about materials, it's also about co-creation, participation in urban processes, dealing with co-creation in public space. Now the whole computer science is involved in urban planning, so that we've got quite a couple of people who are developing software for TomTom. I think it's a little bit too much what we're doing at our faculty department, but I'm not in charge of that. But anyhow, you see that there are quite a lot of topics addressed that are dealing with how people live, their people normal life, and also how people are organizing cities.
Yes, cities are getting older, and there are many other problems occurring, just like the environmental problem, just like the immigrants coming to some countries. So we have new problems requiring new solutions and new interdisciplinary way of handling problems is needed. So I'm sure this will end with happiness of occupiers as well. This is what I agree as well. Tayfun, do you have any other thing to say? You were saying something, I think.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I must say it was. I like these meetings. I'm sorry I can't be involved in all of them, but thank you, Pinar, for organizing it and keeping it running, because it's so nice to see the other work so far away and then feel that we share a lot of things in common.
Yeah. I think that we seem that we are doing things differently, but we are all running towards good architecture. Of course, we may have different definitions, but as long as the ultimate goal is good architecture, we are doing a good. What is this? I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be observed. I just wanted to be understood. I just wanted to be decoded, because everything lived in a studio usually stays in a studio, but they should be shared. I mean, they should be displayed to other people. We have a lot that you can learn from us, and you have a lot that we can learn from you. As I was listening to Tom, I just tried to check my own studio, how to manage things in a slightly different way. I'm sure Tayfun did the same, and I'm sure when Tom was listening to Tayfun, also he was affected by some points. So this is how we develop our education system as well. The more we share, the more we decode it, the more we can develop. This is what I believe. All the systems which are open can develop themselves. The systems which are enclosed just go too deep. Maybe there can be some good results, but today's society, today's problems do not seem that closed systems can be survived for a long time. We need collaboration, we need negotiation, we need understanding each other, and we need meeting. such kind of meetings and exhibitions are for this reason. Tonight also we open 2 exhibitions. The audience can find exhibition links, addresses in the chat session of this program. Thank you very much, Tayfun. Thank you very much, Fulya, for presenting Studio 4's work, for decoding it and for making it visible for us. Thank you, Tom. It's a great pleasure for hosting you for the 2nd time. I think 3rd time will be much better. And the more we develop negotiation, maybe we can be collaborators as well. You can collaborate studio in our school. We can collaborate if you ask. We can help as much as you want. Thanks to the 2 teams who really spent time preparing exhibitions and preparing their presentations. I'm very happy this evening to listen to nice, good teaching things, teaching material. And also to the students who are listening to us, and also to the students who really produced good things so that their teachers were able to share here. I also congratulate them. Thank you very much. I think this is the right time to say goodbye and good night. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.